Year 2 under Brett Bielema in Champaign brings a reason for optimism and expectation of more growth in the Illini football program. Today's spring game presents us with an opportunity to get an early glance at what the fall will look like here at Memorial Stadium. The annual blue and orange game on a beautiful day, shade under 70 degrees in Champaign, as we welcome you inside Memorial Stadium. Alongside Jay Lehman, we have Emily Eamon on the field today. I'm Jason Ross Jr. Pleasure to be with you here on Big Ten Network. Jay, you watched a lot of this Illini program in year 1 under Bielema. What can Illini fans expect in year 2?
Well, Brett Bielema football is first and foremost running the football, controlling the clock, playing complementary football with a defense that's suffocating, but now to take the next step from 5-7 to becoming bowl eligible and competing for that Big Ten West title, they've got to throw the football in critical situations, third down and red zone, execute through the air. They've got to figure that out if they want to compete at the next level.
Well, Brett Bielema made some moves to hopefully do that more effectively this season. One of those moves is making a change among his coaching staff. Barry Lunny Jr. is the new offensive coordinator. What kind of impact do you expect him to bring this season?
Well, Lunny Jr. had an explosive offense at University of Texas San Antonio last year. Very well balanced, running the football, throwing the football. I think we'll see more quarterback shotgun. We'll see more short, quick game passing. We'll also see the quarterback run game involved as well to give some relief to Chase Brown and McCray when it comes to running the football in the backfield.
Well, most expected the Fighting Illini to dip into the transfer portal at that QB position. Struggled in the passing game a year ago, as you mentioned there. Tommy DeVito is the new guy, QB transfer from Syracuse.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito is a guy that's started 18 games. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards, has 28 touchdown passes. He's got some legit Power 5 experience. I think he's got the moxie that maybe they've been missing at that position, the leadership, the players gravitate towards him. And not only does he have a decent arm, he's got the ability to move the sticks with his feet. When stuff breaks down, he can get those coveted 2 or 3 first downs that could make the difference in the ballgame. Well,
he should be fun to watch today. We'll be running with the ones as you see the Illini taking the field now, getting all set for today's spring game. And the ones will play together. Brett Bielema really wants to establish that chemistry. And speaking of coach, he's down on the field with Emily Eamon.
Coach, this is your last scrimmage or spring game of the season. What are you most excited for tonight?
Really see our guys play. By NCAA rules, we get 3 scrimmages. This is our last one. I'd like to see them tackle efficiently on defense and offensively move the ball.
You told me earlier in this week you're most excited to watch the quarterbacks to see what they could do. What is the main thing you're watching from that group tonight?
I think anytime a quarterback commands a huddle, from the time it's snapped, even really during the play and then post-play, the more he communicates, the more he talks, the better we'll all be, and I'm excited to see that today.
This is the first time that we are seeing this new offense, what you call tempo speed with a pro-style influence. What's the main difference that we're going to see from last fall to tonight?
I think obviously the tempo at the line of scrimmage without the huddle, but I think we can get the ball on the perimeter, do some things on the edges, get the ball in our playmakers' hands, let the quarterback control the offense and see what he can do, and make the defense put stress, right? Put defensively, make them make calls and communicate at the line of scrimmage.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Emily. Thanks, Coach. Look at the man who'll be running the show today with the ones, Tommy DeVito. Again, with Jay Lehman, I'm Jason Ross Jr. Jay, some of the position battles that you're hoping to watch today include the positions we have listed there.
Yeah, DeVito's not just going to get the job. Obviously, Art Kelsey got some starts last year. He's banged up for tonight's scrimmage, but he'll be good for the fall. Wide receivers who they're throwing the football to, Isaiah Williams, really the only bona fide weapon they have. A little bit with Casey Washington. Offensive line, they lost a lot last year. Doug Kramer of the Darien Low gone. They've got some JUCO transfers and they're battling for positions. And of course, that outside backer. Defense was stout last year, but Owen Carney, Isaiah Gay, the 2 outside backers that led this team in sacks are gone. They got to replace that pressure because there's nothing that creates turnovers more than pressure on the quarterback.
Yep, as Jay mentioned there, Sitkowski, 6'5", QB out. He's got a strong arm, and as Jay noted there, the position battle at QB is nothing but wrapped up right now. It could certainly be something to look at when the fall training camp does roll around. A couple of wideouts who will be notable to keep an eye on when the fall rolls around. Casey Washington, Sean Miller, those guys will be big in the passing game, but it's a receiver core that we're excited to watch. A bit depleted today when it comes to the names actually on the field.
Sure.
But, yeah, those few notable players to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Washington obviously made the big catch in overtime to seal it against Penn State. Sean Miller got it really flashed, according to Brett Bielema, during the spring practice. Not going to play tonight. Of course, Keith Randolph, probably the best overall defensive tackle that Illinois has. Maybe the best defensive player they have on their team out tonight.
Again, it's the blue and orange, but we got blue and white. The ones are in the white uniforms, your first-string players, and the second, third string, fourth string players who could be competing potentially for starting spots as well in the blue uniforms.
So we're seeing more tempo from the jump. No huddle immediately. Emily mentioned tempo with a pro style, and we're seeing it early on.
Ryan Johnson is the QB for the blue team, wearing the orange jersey. Yeah, that's interesting. Bielema mentioned that it's more up-tempo, but they feel they've got the variation in there as well. It can make checks to the line of scrimmages, can slow it down when you need to, and it's more of a tempo, but you got the balance in the mix as well. Johnson will hand it off this time. Peyton Vining at back. Beg your pardon, Chase Hayden.
A good read there by Seth Coleman, Tariq Barnes. Those are some guys. You can see big Johnny Newton as well getting in the middle of. That's really the center of the teeth of this defense. We said Keith Randolph's out for today. Johnny Newton, another guy they're extremely high on. Just a sophomore. They think this guy can be an all Big Ten defensive lineman. They will. Lovie Smith recruit him, won some battles as far as who they're recruiting against to get Johnny Newton here, and they're excited about his future as we look on at Isaiah Williams.
One of their top wideout. Also returns punts in the special teams game, very effective. And he's a guy who they're hoping to get some support around when he does come to the offensive side of things. Led the team in receptions and receiving yards by far last season as a freshman. His eligibility still just a sophomore. It's a relatively young wideout core, so now we'll see him in this ones group led by Tommy DeVito. I like his personality. It's very vibrant, isn't it, Jay? I mean, he isn't afraid to step up and have his voice heard and practice his magnetic personality, as the coaching staff describes it. Look at his numbers from Syracuse.
Yeah, and 18 starts under Dino Babers in Syracuse. Threw for $143, 28 tutties, 12 interceptions. Not a horrible touchdown to interception ratio. This is a guy that played at one of the best high schools in the country, Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey. Lots of talent comes out. A lot of Big Ten players come out of that school. This guy's been accustomed to good football for a long time.
Handed off here to their leading running back from a season ago, Chase Brown, who ran for a shade over 1,000 yards last season.
Just that style of play is a little bit. This is called the gap scheme right here. Watch the guard and tackle pull right over there, right? And you have Chase Brown follow around. And see Chase cuts it up in. He probably could have bounced it up. That's a little bit different than the zone look they had last year.
Vito looking over the middle this time and has Isaiah Williams on the crossing route.
I mean, that's got to be bread and butter all day, right? Because this is in the slot. Isaiah Williams sometimes had to play the wide receiver, or the X position, where he wasn't in the slot last year because they didn't have any other receivers. But in the slot, he is so dangerous on those quick crossing routes.
Go back to Brown, little burst up the middle. We'll get to the sticks just about to the yard to gain and move the chains here.
Here's what makes Chase Brown different, right? There. He puts his foot in the ground, and the acceleration's there, and a little bit of juice to him right here. Puts that left foot in the ground, he's up. Great vision there, good patience. At first, Chase didn't have much patience last year. He's really got more patient and waited for stuff to develop.
Vito was looking for Isaiah Williams streaking down the seam that time. See a bit more of the tempo, quick throws, and we're seeing that early on with a good blend of the running game.
Well, that's uncharacteristic drop there by Isaiah Williams, wide open. This is what you call an MA, missed assignment. Just simply took the ball, eyes off the ball. Ball was a little bit behind him. Not a great throw by DeVito.
Yeah, you don't see that a lot out of Isaiah Williams. You can expect that to be grabbed 9 times out of 10, usually 10 times out of 10 with him, as Brown showcasing his elusiveness there, slipping through a couple of tackles. Brown became the 12th back in program history to run for 1,000 yards last season. Maybe wasn't talked about quite as much as some of the other backs around the Big Ten because there was so much talent at that position, but he is one of the emerging players in the backfield around this conference.
We've seen the quarterback in shotgun almost every play. We haven't seen anything under center. You got to be aware of quarterback run when they're in the shotgun.
Yeah, finds the late man crossing, and this time able to hook up with Pat Bryant, and one of the players who they're hoping can maybe emerge around Isaiah Williams.
Well, watch him just sidestep. He feels the pressure, slides a little bit to the left, gets it out. That's an experienced quarterback. A young quarterback probably throws it at the feet, throws it away. DeVito's able to use his mobility, keep his eyes downfield, make a completion on 3rd and 5 to pick up the first down. Wouldn't be surprised to see a shot soon here. I mean, they're in what they call the alumni zone, in between the 40s.
I got Williams motioning out. They go to him. He's met promptly, then lost the football, and was able to pounce back on it just inside of the 50.
How about Tyler Strain? Watch Tyler Strain get off the block by Pat Bryant. This is how you use your hands, right? Use your hands to get off the block, just beats it. Clean hit, doesn't hit him in the face at all, and pops it out. I'm not sure Isaiah Williams ever had control of that, although it looks like he does, and as he's straining, the ball comes out. He did recover, so they didn't rule it a fumble.
It was a nice play from Strain, defensive back. This time Brown brought down.
Big Calvin Avery. He's a guy, a 4-star recruit out of Texas. They've wanted him to be better than he has been. Has had some conditioning issues, but if he can stay on the field, man, he has the ability to get the push. And a 3-4 defense, you want your nose to get a tremendous push on that center. It helps the whole defense out when you get pressure and you get penetration.
Avery, a player who returns a couple of starts from last season. Should be in the mix once again for a starting job. DeVito flushed, goes to the sideline. And Brown over there.
Good protection. He actually has time here. Good protection on the outside from the outside linebackers. But I tell you what, he had a couple guys open. Just decided not to throw it. And Barry Lundy's kind of talking with him, saying, hey, he had a curl route right there. Kendall Smith looked like he was open. Or, excuse me, rather it was Brian Hightower was open. He'll learn. That's what spring ball is all about.
Back in your day on the Illini field, Jay, what was your favorite part about spring practice culminating with the spring game itself?
First of all, spring ball's a grind, okay? So it's all about getting better. And by the time you get to the spring game, it's the one time you just get to let loose and hit people. So as a linebacker, that's what I liked.
I feel like you're amped up today, like your playing days, as you usually are.
You got to be, right?
Yeah, you got me amped up prior to this one.
Yep.
Now down in the field, the Tim McCarthy Scholarship being awarded.
Catholic High School in 1967, and after earning playing time in 1968, was awarded a football scholarship and lettered as a safety in 1969 and 1970. After graduation, Tim went on to a career with the Secret Service, eventually earning a spot on the team that protected the President of the United States. On March 30th, 1981, while protecting President Ronald Reagan, Tim jumped in front of a bullet intended for Reagan, quite possibly saving the president's life. Over the years, Tim has been recognized many times for his heroic act. But starting in 2022, a scholarship given to a walk-on Illini football player will be named the Timothy McCarthy Scholarship. Tim is joined on field with Director of Athletics Josh Whitman and this year's scholarship recipient, senior tight end number 42, Michael Marquez. Thank you, Tim McCarthy, for your heroic service to our nation.
That's a great award right there. And Tim McCarthy, a guy that, as you heard, took a bullet for President Ronald Reagan in 1981 when he was in the Secret Service, and now they've got an award, a scholarship. It's going to go to Michael Marquez right here. He's got the scholarship as a former walk-on, now on scholarship, got the Timothy McCarthy scholarship. He's talked to AD Josh Whitman, but certainly one of the more celebrated alumni here for his off-the-field accolades.
That is so cool to see. There's Michael Marquez. Now let's go down to Emily, who's with Tim.
Mr. McCarthy, almost 55 years ago, you signed up as a walk-on in the Illinois football team. After your sophomore season, you earned a starting spot in a scholarship. What's your number one trait that got you to that point?
I think it was just hanging in there. This is not an easy sport, whether it's practice or otherwise, and it was just more determination. I had great teammates that encouraged me to continue on. We had great coaches back in the day, like now, Jim Valek and others, and it was just determination to do it. And it's tough. It was tough, but it was worth every minute of it. And there's a lot of it that, in the weight rooms and things like that, no one ever sees, where all the work and practice gets done. It was great.
Well, this Tim McCarthy scholarship is going to an Illinois walk-on in your name. What importance did that scholarship have for you?
Well, it's going to be on a walk-on. As we know, Coach Bielema was a walk-on, so I think he had a little bit to do with it. But the recognition for young men to come out to play the sport with no incentive, in the sense that they don't have a scholarship and to stick with it like Michael Marquez did, it just shows determination. It shows grit. It shows all sorts of things. But I'm just honored and humbled, quite frankly. I said, well, maybe it wasn't for academics. Was it for academics or was it for football? But either way, I'm honored, humbled. Illinois forever for me. Always has been and always will be.
Well, it's been an honor for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Nice seeing you.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Tim. You can really feel his passion for the...
I got a chance to meet Tim McCarthy at an alumni event probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I really had no idea about his story, about what he did as a Secret Service agent for President Ronald Reagan. Got to hear that story, how down to earth he was, and he's had a distinguished career. And so it's just been really cool to see him. And that's what you get at a Big Ten university with so many alumni. You just don't know what kind of resource that is when you sign up for a scholarship, right? When you say, hey, I'm going to go there, you get tap into all that. You see Tim McCarthy way back in the day, late 60s, early 70s. Doug Deacon looked like they're in the middle. Great Browns player. The guy on the left, 86, is Tim McCarthy. Doug Deacon, I think, is 82. Great tight end room right there, and McCarthy and Deacon for the Illini. And as McCarthy said, played for Jim Valek.
Tight end spot you bring up is an interesting one for this Illinois offense. They lose Daniel Barker to Michigan State, dipped into the transfer portal. Luke Ford is in that spot, likely to take over the amount of reps he was getting offensively. Saw Ford creep into the picture there. Tip Raymond as well.
Yeah, Ford, Tip Raymond, those guys are solid dudes. We see another big body, Josh McCray. You can see him moving piles. He's a guy that really popped onto the scene last year in the Purdue game, which was not the Big Ten opener because they opened up against Nebraska, but early in the Big Ten season. And he's a guy that is an absolute load in a great, different style back compared to Chase Brown.
You say McCray is more the physical, kind of bowling ball build type of style. You see him this time cut it back a bit, gets a block, maneuvers for a first down inside of the 20.
I mean, so much of it is patience, right? I mean, the way that he's patient, he can set up. Well, watch him set up the block here. There are going to be two guys pulling around. Watch the crackback by Pat Bryant right there. Good block, steals the edge. And then out in front, you see Isaiah Adams, 78, able to pull around and able to get out in space on the defensive back and make a play.
Took that one for 18 yards. This time bounces off a tackler and gets back to the line of scrimmage. McCray averaged a shade under 5 yards per carry last season. And as Jay mentioned, good tandem at back between Brown and McCray. That's one of the stronger spots of this offense when it comes to returning players.
Yeah, and they like the young guys they got too. We'll see Jordan Anderson out of Joliet Catholic in Chicago, obviously a powerhouse at 240, just as big as McCray, they say. You got Ian Lawfery, guy out of Gibson City, about 40 minutes away from here in Champaign, is a track guy, got a lot of reps in spring, is banged up today. They just got deeper at that back spot.
This time DeVito has Isaiah Williams. He's down inside the 10-yard line.
So what I like is the ability just to say, I'm going to throw it on a rope, and I'm going to put it on the numbers, right? So watch him just throw it on a rope, numbers, bam, get a solid gain of 6-7 yards. Too many times between Sikowski and Brandon Peters last year, they missed easy throws. Listen, this is college football. You've got to be able to pitch and catch, Jason. They weren't able to pitch and catch at all last year, and that's why everybody started stacking the D, 10 guys in the box to stop McCray and Brown.
Passing offense ranked last in the conference. Made strides defensively, but now trying to get back to it in the passing game. Isaiah Williams takes this inside of the 5, using him in multiple ways early on, showcasing his versatility.
And they want to touch the ball. They want to get him all kinds of ways, right? Now, that's one way to pad your passing stats, right? Just throw the ball, a foot forward, right? That actually counts as a pass. And so that pads your stats a bit. But what I would say is this, is Isaiah Williams one of the few guys that has the ability to get yards after catch. The Illini need chunk plays. We haven't seen chunk plays yet. We saw Williams drop one that could have been a chunk play, but they can't. It's so hard to sustain drives for 10, 15 plays without making a big mistake like a turnover or penalty.
This time they go back to the ground. McCray up the gut, right down to the goal line. Stops prior to getting into the end zone. And you asked Barry Lunny about how to get those chunk plays as we see more of a goal line package here.
Sure. I mean, first it starts with running the football, right? And they're going to run the football effectively. It's, can you play action off of that? Can you get one-on-ones? I like what Barry Lundy said. He said, we got to first win one on none, like on air. We're not even playing defense. We got to play pitching against. Then we got to win one-on-one. Then we got to be able to beat zone or the pass rush. As you see McCray tumble in for the first score of the night.
Josh McCray took the majority of the snaps at running back on that drive that results in, as Jay mentioned, the first score of this blue and orange game here in Champaign.
I mean, this is just old school Big Ten football. Great push right there. We see Palczewski, 63, really get a great push at the right tackle position. He's a guy that's been around a long time, awarded another year. Also see Adams in there getting a push, Chrysler getting a push. Those are 2 JUCO transfers. Caleb Griffin with the extra point. I was sat behind for a long time, the starting kicker, James McCourt, and Caleb Griffin, a guy out of Danville, Illinois, 40 minutes east of Champaign, finally getting his chance home with the Vikings.
There's a look at Brett Bielema, and as we see our first score of the game, good point to mention that the white team, the ones, will have normal scoring when the blue team scores will be double your normal amount. So a 7-0 start for the ones.
Yeah, and Brett talked about that. He said, man, I want my ones to play together. I want them to learn how to play off of each other, so he likes the starters to play together.
See, don't forget, every Big Ten team, every Big Ten sport customized your way on the Big Ten Plus app. Jay, one of my favorite apps, powered by Big Ten Network. Stream hundreds of live, non-televised events, plus next-day re-airs. It all adds up to a bigger Big Ten. Download and subscribe today.
See Samari Collier right there at the quarterback position, getting some reps for the blue team. This is a guy that they are high on as he throws to Edwards for a quick pitch and catch. Big body guy, really, really big. A 6'2", 230 out of DeSoto, Texas.
Redshirted last season. Hasn't taken a college snap yet. See him working on the shotgun as well. Jay, what does that tell you, this consistent theme of we're seeing the QBs on both sides continually working out of the gun?
Well, we're seeing the shotgun, and this is the spring ball, right? We're on Big Ten Network, so everybody's going to see this film. So I don't want to show too much because nobody knows what this offense is going to look like under Barry Lunny with these guys. They know what Barry Lunny did at UTSA last year, but we haven't seen any quarterback run yet. I thought we'd see that. Maybe they're saving that for week 1 against Wyoming in the fall, but it shows me that we're not going to see a ton of under center, which is different for a Brett Bielema team. Very different, but they're running the same concepts.
This time you see the legs of Cooper on display. They blow it dead.
So this is always a point of contention in spring football. Would he have gone down or would not? So they say Sidney Brown's going to tackle him here. Would Sidney get that tackle? I don't know, Sidney. Sidney's a good player, but I'm not sure. It just drives the defensive guy nuts that you can't hit the quarterback. That just it really slows down your aggression a little bit too, especially if you're a D lineman. You got to feel bad for those guys.
I feel like you want to make the tackle for Sidney up
yes.
from all the way up here in the booth. Well, Sidney Brown led the Illini in tackles last season, so I'm sure he thinks he could have made it there.
Yeah, no, Sidney's a guy that probably one of their best guys.
Well, speaking of guys who have made some tackles, Emily is down on the field with Jake Hansen.
Jake, you played for Illinois for 6 years. When you look back on your career, what memory sticks out to you most?
I gotta say that our Wisconsin upset on this field. That was probably one of my favorites, and good buddy James McCourt knocking down the game-winning kick for us to knock them off. So I would say that.
Well, it hasn't always been an easy ride for you. After your sophomore year, you hurt your knee. Last season, you hurt your other knee, season-ending injury. As you have these NFL aspirations, what keeps you going?
It's always been a dream of mine as a young kid, so just continue pushing it and aiming for those goals is something that I'm not going to quit on. So,
growing up as a kid, you mentioned it. When was the first time you realized, man, I'm pretty good at this?
Probably around high school, honestly. You never really know in youth. You can't really tell in youth. But I'd probably say around high school I started to earn a little college interest, and that was kind of what made me really love football a lot. So, yeah.
Jake, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Jake.
Great questions from Emily. I love Jake. Jake's a guy who, honestly, one of the great careers in college football as far as Illinois linebackers goes. You look at what his stats, he didn't play on great teams, but how he forced fumbles, he made some big plays. He had six tackles for loss in one game. He was close to setting the all-time record for Illinois as far as forced fumbles, breaking Whitney Merciless's record, maybe with Simeon Rice's record. He got banged up late in his career with some concussions, with some knee injuries. I'm telling you what, this guy was one of the best to ever play at linebacker for the Illini.
See, that's another spot to examine today, the outside linebacker spot in particular when it comes to this 2022 Illinois football team.
Yeah, speaking of a guy who's going to be here maybe through 2026 is Malachi Hood. Malachi Hood is a guy they are really, really high on as a back. You see him making a big-time tackle against Chase Brown in space. Chase Brown trying to get the edge. Malachi Hood says, he's another guy out of Joliet Catholic, played with Jordan Anderson as well. You can see the outside linebackers that are battling here, right? You got Jared Beatty, Alec Bryant, the transfer from Vatech, Shaman Cooper, highly recruited. Zeke Holmes and Seth Coleman, probably the leaders in that.
DeVito goes over the middle this time. Able to find his target.
Miles Scott.
Miles Scott is a guy that has really, really popped. Was a walk-on, is a walk-on, but has really been solid. Brett Bielema has been really high on this guy in spring. Ability to run routes, catch the football, just sits right down. They call that sitting down in the hook curl zone and just sat for the ball, wait for it. And that's what Chase Brown can do, make people miss.
Brown hitting the second level after a beautiful spin move. Slipped a couple of limpy tacklers there. Got out near midfield.
We didn't know how much of Chase Brown we would see. We're seeing enough, though, here in the first quarter. That might be the last run of the day, but watch this move right here. Hits the X button when you're playing on PlayStation, or is that the triangle? I don't know what it is, but he spun twice. Little juke left and right. Good hustle by the D to finally get him down, but so explosive, so slippery, and an extra gear to get upfield to get more yards.
Now a little fun down in the field. We're going to have a kicking competition. before a little breather here. So it'll be normal scoring, 3 points each. It'll be interesting to see who they get involved in this. So officially a field goal shootout.
Caleb Griffin, who really bided his time behind James McCourt. James McCourt, who is mentioned there by Jake Hansen, who won the game winner famously against Wisconsin. Wisconsin was a top 5 team. Illinois was 28-point underdog. Illinois upset him.
It's a 33-yarder. Each of the kickers will attempt.
And in the shootout, the field goals count as normal points. Okay, so it's you don't get double for field goals if you're the blue team.
Fabrizio Pinton, Houston, Texas native. Now back to Caleb Griffin.
Making it look easy. A lot of people ask, why don't they go live during special teams? And it's very, very, first of all, it's very hard to mimic live special teams. Because punt, kickoff, or in this case, field goal protection, field goal block, and it's also very dangerous. It's a very high-speed play, and when you have low numbers in spring football, you just don't want to get guys hurt. And so a lot of times you won't go live on these special teams things, but you'll work all your techniques in your operation, snap, hold, kick, make sure it gets off in time.
Would you say, however, you can work on different situations in spring practice, spring game in particular is probably the most important part of what you're doing today?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to spring football, it's all about, am I lined up? Do I know my assignment? Am I doing the proper technique? Am I running the football? That's going to give me the best chance to win a spot on this football team so I can contribute in the fall when it really counts. Of course, the coaches are looking at, when it comes to special teams, hey, are our operations in sync? Meaning, are we snapping? Are we stepping with the right foot, protecting? Are we punching with the right arm, the left arm? What are we doing? They're going to watch all this stuff. You'd be surprised how much they can watch a film over and over again. We finally got a miss over there, I can see.
We'll step aside after the kicking shootout there. More to come from Champaign. An awesome day for a little spring ball at Memorial Stadium. Welcome back to Memorial Stadium. A look at Ben Miller, who, Jay, has been through a lot over the past year or so, and it's good to see him on the sidelines today.
Yeah, the special teams and tight ends coach diagnosed with colon cancer this year. Had surgery in February. Is undergoing chemotherapy right now, but out here to support the team today. Prayers and support, and good thoughts to him as he battles. This is actually his second stint here at Illinois. He was actually a graduate assistant in 2006 when I played here. Spent a long time at Air Force coaching football, and then came back here under Brett Bielema. It's so good to see him back on the sideline. An integral part of Illinois is they use the tight ends a lot, and special teams were a strong point with Blake Hayes at punter and James McCourt at field goals last year.
Prior to break, we just saw the kicking shootout to work on some special team scenarios. Now the ones are back out on the field. And again, Tommy DeVito at QB, the transfer from Syracuse. If you're just tuning in, we'll likely have a battle with Art Satowski, who isn't on the field today. Might give the edge to DeVito, given he's playing in spring ball, but Satowski did get reps last season, although dealt with injuries. DeVito has dealt with injuries throughout his career at Syracuse. Didn't quite work out with the Orange, but he's excited for some new scenery in Champaign this season. Drops back here, looking to the end zone, and has his wide out. It's Isaiah Williams. Illini fans would love for that connection to become normal when the 2022 season does roll around.
Yeah, decent ball there by DeVito. It looked like he threw it behind him. Really was a back shoulder to keep it away from the safety. Good protection there by the offensive line and throws it kind of back shoulder. You can see he's working on the defensive back. Drops it right in the bucket. Good hands by Isaiah Williams. Peyton Vining unable to cover the fleet-footed Williams, a guy who, as you mentioned, just a sophomore. He seems like he's been here forever with the COVID year and the red shirt, everything else. He's just a sophomore.
He's worn that number one ever since he first started playing football as a youngster. Has always loved being number one. Led the team in touchdown receptions a season ago. There's a look at some of the early work that we've seen from Tommy DeVito.
Well, they wanted a Power 5 quarterback, and here's what you get with the Power 5 quarterback. Ability to feel pressure, side shuffle, hit Pat Bryant for the first down. Scans the field, didn't make a great decision here, decides, you know what, I'm just going to try to throw the ball away or get a 1-yard gain. Here we see him just throw a bullet pass to Isaiah Williams in the flat, and then we finally see him connect on a chunk play, an explosive play, back shoulder fade to the inside slot receiver Isaiah Williams, and this time Williams hangs on for pay dirt.
Send it down to the sidelines, or Emily has more on DeVito.
One of the main reasons head coach Brett Bielema was interested in grad transfer quarterback Tommy DeVito was how vocal he is. For a head coach that preaches the importance of communication, Bielema told me his first impression of DeVito was that he was very warm and has a very magnetic personality. He said Tommy's not afraid of much and is a true Jersey guy through and through. Offensive coordinator Barry Lunny said he can tell DeVito's played a lot of football. He has great arm talent, he's quick, and he's a great decision maker.
Thanks, Emily. Great stuff. North Jersey native, as he'll tell you.
I guess there's a difference to the Jersey guys, right? We're talking about a guy that I think can be the difference between 5 wins and 8 wins. It's the quarterback, right? I mean, this is the guy, if he can get a couple more first downs than they had last year. I mean, they were close in 2 or 3 games. They weren't that far from really competing with that top spot in the Big Ten West that they could finish some games, but it came down to the inability to throw the football, and when they stacked the box on Illinois, very difficult for them to run the football.
Illinois got off to a 1-4 start last season, but 3 of those 4 losses were one-possession games. You saw that sprinkled throughout a lot of the games last season. Here's a look at the 2022 schedule.
Yeah, obviously you got that Week 0 game. Brett Bielema loves the Week 0. Played Nebraska last year in their Big Ten opener, Week 0, Wyoming, Indiana. They actually swapped Indiana and Penn State because of some scheduling different things. They had Penn State, now it's Indiana. Virginia beat them down last year out in Charlottesville. Obviously, Tony Elliott, the coach there, that's your first 3 games. And then after that, they have that bye. And then they hit the meat of their Big Ten season, where you got Iowa, you've got Wisconsin. You've got those guys that you have to play every year. As we watched the last player, Ryan Johnson's the receiver, not really ready for it. I think this is the running back, Jordan Anderson, the young player out of Joliet Catholic, who's every bit of 240, they say. And they're excited about him. And Barry Lunny Jr. saying, hey, this is a good time to coach him up a bit. Really like talking to Barry Lunny Jr. Doesn't take himself too seriously,
no.
You know? Love to see that in a head football coach. How about Josh McCray? You don't usually see a 240-pound running back returning
6'4".
punts. Yeah, at 6'4", too.
Mentioned Anderson, some of the early enrollees here. See a few of the key ones out. Mentioned the receiver position. Sean Miller really stands out there.
Sure. Yeah, well, Jordan Anderson we just saw. Malachi Hope we started making a player in Chase Brown. Ian Lawfrey's got some serious jets. He's got elite speed, great change of pace back. Jared Beatty got hurt the first day of spring ball. He's gained 15 to 20 pounds of muscle since he got here. Was a coveted recruit at that outside linebacker position. And Sean Miller, a guy out of IMG. Listen, they need help. They need help ASAP at receiver. Sean Miller can be that guy. It can't just be Isaiah Williams. It can't just be Luke Ford. They've got to have Casey Washington step up. He's not healthy. Sean Miller. Let's also not forget about Miles Scott, who they think has been very good in the spring, who we saw make a catch earlier.
Sean Miller chose Illinois over other Big Ten schools at offers from Michigan State, Indiana, a 3-star recruit. Really love his work ethic. Casey Washington, another returning experience, not on the field today, though.
Yeah, and the big question is Brian Hightower. Transferred here last year, didn't do much at all. Kamari Thompson didn't do much last year, but has some real speed. Sean Miller, Ian Pugh, a guy that they actually got away from Cincinnati. Cincinnati committed to Cincinnati. Obviously, Cincinnati, a playoff team last year. Got Ian Pugh to come and flip it. He's out of Naperville, but went to Fenwick High School in Oak Park. And so they're recruiting the state of Illinois hard, and you can see that by what they've been able to do. I think Casey Washington and Isaiah Williams will be their top two starting when it comes to the fall. But I think these other guys are going to play a key part. We saw Pat Bryant really make some plays in that Iowa game when everybody was down. He was the go-to guy. So there's been some reps there, and if they can put it all together, I think they'll be okay.
Hoping now Brett Bielema in year 2 can continue to impact the recruiting for Illinois football in the state of Illinois and around the country.
And this is the basic man beater route, right? Just a drive route across the field, DeVito to Bryant. And the thing about a drive route is it's what they call a man beater. You run all the way across the field. That corner has to run all the way with you, so they do it to beat man coverage.
Second catch we've seen today from Bryant, who's in the mix for maybe a more elevated role at that receiver position. It was a gain of 12. Now they go back to Chase Brown, who will likely be the starting running back once again this season. Good chunk there on the ground. Averaged about 6 yards per carry the season ago. Here he is again.
Watch 72 here. Zy Chrysler, 6'6", 360. Out of Mississippi Community College. See him pull around right there? Gives Deion Paint a full face at 360 pounds. They say he's down to 360.
Down to 360.
Right? They said at one time he was 420. That is a load and some serious beef in the interior line, and he pulled around with some good feet right there.
He's another one of the early enrollees. A catch on the sideline made there by Pat Bryant.
Now that's a throw they want to see, right? So DeVito rolls out to his right. He's a right-handed guy. This is the deep comeback route, and it takes a while to develop. You got to protect. You see big Zy Chrysler, right? 6'6", 360. He's out of Crystal Springs, Mississippi. I don't know what kind of water's coming out of Crystal Springs, but I want some for my kids, right? Because I'll tell you what, you don't grow them like Zy Chrysler, 6'6", 360. You get a body like that, a guy that can move. He's pulling again here. You can see the pancake block there by 72 on that last play when they went the other direction, just flattened the linebacker, the young man Malachi Hood. Zy, he shakes his head. Zy. Watch big Zy Chrysler, 72. He's going to pull around and watch Malachi Hood, who's an early enrollee, is going to prom next week. And he says, oh, man, maybe I should have stayed at prom. Watch Zy Chrysler. Get your foot down, son. Get your inside foot down before you hit Zy Chrysler. If not, it's going to be IHOP all day. Pancake City, get your syrup ready.
They put Tip Raymond in motion, then threw it to him, and he lunges out to find the end zone.
We were so hyped about Zy. We almost missed Tip. And Tip with a nice little catch. Tip actually got married this past year. Let's watch big Zy. Zy on the power pass, they call it. Just hanging out, waiting. Nobody wants to mess with Zy after that. He gets a little hit in there. But after what he did to Malachi Hood, gives the protection. You see DeVito throw a strike to Ryman, and then, actually good form on the tackle, but that's just like you don't have enough strength to finish the job, right? I mean, Ryman just collapsed out him into the end zone, and Ryman's a big guy.
He's got the tight end size, 6'5", 250. July 10th, the BTN Big 10K returns home to Soldier Field in Chicago. Runners can choose between a 10K or 5K option, followed by an unforgettable tailgate party. All participants receive a school-specific t-shirt and Big Ten media. And if you can't make it to Chicago, you can participate virtually wherever you are, live. Just register right now at btnbig10k.com.
There he is, Zy Chrysler. So the registration's open now, by the way, for that Big 10K. I'm not a huge 10K guy because, in football you only run like 40 or 50 yards. That's it.
You fit enough though for the 10K.
I could. I want to run with Zy because I feel like me and Zy could run together. We have a good little pace. This is a guy they really, really wanted to get to fill some holes at offensive line. Remember, Doug Kramer, Vidarian Lowe, gone. Okay. He's sitting next to Alex Pelcheski right there. Zy Chrysler is the kind of body, the road grader that you want in the Big Ten West. When you want to get a first down, you run behind Zy Chrysler, right? Think about McCray behind Zy Chrysler. That's 240 plus 360. I got a degree from the University of Illinois. That's 600 pounds. So once I get off Zy Chrysler, I got to tackle McCray? Come on, man.
It's not a fair deal. And I did like the math job there as well. It was impressive.
I'm a communications guy, obviously soft science.
Right.
That's why I'm talking right now, right? And not an engineering degree or accounting. But I know a little bit of math, and I know that's a lot of weight.
You're
coming at
versatile.
you, right? We talk about the offensive line, right? Pelcheski been there a long time. Pilstrom, former walk-on. Julian Pearl's going to be a pro out of Danville, Illinois as well. He's got a great body as well as far as being athletic and whatnot. I don't know if that was a fake or what that was. I was so busy talking about Zy Chrysler taking a shot down the field.
And now we've got quite the celebration going on.
Okay, so I get to Barstool Carl with the tutty.
Okay.
That's his name right there.
Barstool Carl.
No pads on at all, right?
Uh-huh.
He just has a jersey and pants.
We get all the characters out for spring football.
And he is ready to play, right? So here he is playing at QB, decides he wants to throw the rock. Former Illini baseball player, throws it up 43-43. Griffin Moore with the tutty out of Bloomington, Illinois. And he thanks Brett Bielema for it, and you can see Barstool Carl throws a strike. That was a good little bomb right there. He gets up, played some baseball.
Oh, yeah. And now he's not tired enough to go back on camera, too, and tell people how he did it.
And he tells Tommy, listen, if I still had eligibility, I don't care where you're from, Jersey or anything, I'm Barstool
You
Carl.
would be in trouble.
He could play, I had him as a player until he took off the helmet and I saw the mustache and everything. He does look a little bit older than a regular player.
Maybe a year of eligibility potentially left to go back.
Look at that. He throws one and he throws one pass on a 55-degree balmy night and he sprays his face. So he's ready for it.
I feel like we just need to keep a camera on him, maybe two-box the shot here, and keep up with Barstool Carl.
Two great names right there, Barstool Carl and
Yes.
Isaac Darkangelo, right? This all-name team. You can't beat that. So they actually were able to sneak in a touchdown for the blue team that way, right, to make it a little more fair. And that counted as 14 points. So now we got a ball game, two-possession ball game all of a sudden here. The white had almost broke it open.
Well, the white team is back out on offense now. The ones led by DeVito, who tries to answer Barstool Carl and does with a reception to his top target, Isaiah Williams, who found the end zone a couple of possessions ago.
So we see the RPO, right? Run pass option. What? The line fires out, and he's going to decide, do I hit it to McCray or do I hit him on a quick slant? He decides to hit him on the hitch route real quick. As you can see, the linebackers bid up. There's room behind the backers for a nice little run after the catch.
Bring Williams in motion this time. Little deception here in the run game. Takes several blue shirts to bring down the big Josh McCray, 6'1", 240. Well, your early assessment, Jay, of Barry Lunny's offense and what you're seeing so far?
Well, much more balanced than what we saw last year. We saw a heavy dose of running the football because they simply could not throw it. With the quarterbacks they had, the receivers they had, and some breakdowns in protection, if they're able to protect DeVito, right, and give him time, he's got enough arm talent to actually make throws down the field, as we've seen. So I think we've seen more else. Now we see him going under center for the first time. This looks like last year's team right here. 2 tight ends, 1 back, and you see the traditional zone play.
Go back to McCray up the middle. You mentioned how Barry Lunny doesn't take himself too seriously. I love talking to him as well. And he had quite a few phrases. You were teaching me about DMX earlier, right?
Well, DMX was playing, the artist, and I was like, Jason, you don't even know who DMX is. He's like, yeah, I've heard of him, but I don't know. I was like, okay, yeah.
Well, it was that I learned, and then I also learned another phrase from Barry Lunny. You don't want to throw out the baby with the bath water. That's it.
That's a famous one. I can't believe it. But he also told us about Gillette, the best a man can get.
I love that one too.
Right? Because that was the ad back in the day, Gillette, the best a man can get, like probably in the 90s, early 2000s. I understood what he was saying, you know. You and Emily, it was like deer in the headlights. There was no register right there.
What does that one mean, though? You don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Well, what happened is in the olden days, they would all have one bath, right? And so what ended up, you know, the man would take the bath first and everyone else, and the baby was the last one. The bathwater was so dirty, you couldn't see the baby in the bathwater because the water was so dirty. It wasn't clear anymore. So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay. I get that one.
I'm even dating myself. I'm surprised I know that.
Your knowledge on this broadcast today is just all over the place. We'll have more Barry Lunny as the broadcast rolls on. We'll have him mic'd up. And it should be a fun little segment.
So 3rd and 12. This is a situation that you want to get reps in, and live reps, right? Because this is a situation they did not have much success in last year.
DeVito looking for Williams on this 3rd and long scenario. Has him. A flag goes flying. Right now on the field, it's another touchdown connection between Williams and DeVito. This one for 44 yards.
Yeah, and Peyton Vining just trying to hold his own against Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams dropped that first one. Not going to drop another one, looks like, right? So you can see where he wants to go on 3rd down. It's Isaiah Williams. It's number 1. And that was an accurate throw right there, as they call a pass interference on Vining here as he grabs him late. Although there's a little bit of a push-off right there by Williams. They call Vining. Good concentration. Ball's exactly where you want it, over the outside shoulder, and drops it in the breadbasket.
Again, second time those two have hooked up today for a touchdown. That one again, 44 yards. DeVito to Williams. Your number 1 wideout, wearing the number 1. We know he'll be consistent. We have Emily on the field right now with another special guest.
Kirby, as you prepare for the 2022 NFL Draft, what is the number 1 thing you've been working to improve in the offseason?
I would say, like, getting stronger, just getting faster, you know. Anything that I feel like that can help in my game, you know, being versatile on the field.
It's said to be a defensive-heavy draft. What makes you stand out against the other safeties in this class?
One thing about me, I'm going to find my way to the ball. Any way possible, I'm going to get the ball every time.
If you had your choice of any team, let's say you got to pick, what team would you want to be on?
If I had to pick, man, I'd be blessed to be on any team. But if I had to pick, I got to say, the Packers is cool. I love to be over there with Aaron Rodgers. But Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, back home, for sure. That's it right there, Tampa Bay.
You grew up a big Tampa Bay fan?
For a little bit, but it was more like I grew up around players. Like, I didn't really have an NFL team, but I had players.
Who were some of those players when you were little that you looked up to?
Brett Grimes, for sure. You already know, old dude. Richard Sherman, Ed Reed going in, you know, Sean Taylor. It's a whole bunch of guys, man. I was just a football fan. Like, everybody was my favorite player.
Right now, who is someone that you watch in the NFL whose game you want to emulate?
I want to emulate. Oh, I say Tyrann Matthew, because he's all over the field. I want to be just like that. I want to be everywhere. Wherever the ball is, I want to be there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Kirby. The Honey Badger isn't a bad option to choose from when you're looking at secondary players to pattern your game after.
He's very instinctive, right? Kirby Joseph, to his point, a meteoric rise last year from backup in week 2, as we see the pick right there by Kendall Smith. Great instincts right there to pick it off. and takes it the other direction, but it was blown dead. So Kendall Smith actually replacing Kirby Joseph here. This is Kirby Joseph. This is what Kirby Joseph did last year, right? Watch him he's playing the rat coverage. That means he's reading the eyes of the QB, reads Ryan Johnson, and picks it, right? That's what you call man-free coverage. You got one free guy underneath, and you got a safety high that's free over the top. Smith shows you how it's done. Took notes from Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph, lots of picks last year, caused fumbles, recovered fumbles, lots of production. Did find his way to the football. Kendall Smith, if he can do 3/4, half of the production that Kirby Joseph had last year, they'll be fine.
Smith, the senior. Kirby Joseph had 5 picks last season. Look at that secondary. Mentioned Sidney Brown, who led the team in tackles, is back. Quan Martin, another name among the safety group. There's some talent coming back in that secondary and among the DB corps. And don't forget, Saturday, USFL action continues on Fox at noon Eastern as the Pittsburgh Maulers battle the Philadelphia Stars. Then at 7 Eastern, the Birmingham Stallions take on Kevin Sumlin's Houston Gamblers on FS1. Jay, any advice for Kirby as he now steps into the pro portion of his football career?
I would just tell you this, as a defensive guy, and he's going to be drafted in the top 3 rounds, but when you get to the pros, what's so hard about being a defensive guy when you first get there is you're there to make plays. Not for the coach, it's not their job to notice you. You got to make the coach notice you by how you play, right? And so, but with staying within the framework of the defense, find a way to make plays, right? To flash. You can't just do your assignment and make the team. You got to be able to make big plays, just like you did at Illinois. I have no doubt he will. Some athleticism right there.
He's making plays on the sideline still. Bouncing off a tackler, Chase Brown. He's expected to make quite a few plays in the running game this season for Illinois. We need another look at what we just saw there.
He says, hold on. That was pretty impressive. I would say he's a pretty good athlete.
I would say so.
Standing backflip, easy.
Not only the 5 picks last season, but showcasing the athleticism still. Then hits the gritty there. Jake, you hit the gritty?
You don't want to see me hit
our generation.
You don't want to see me hit the gritty. I leave that to Justin Jefferson and all the other guys from LSU that started, and everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Right now we got Kirby doing it.
After a casual backflip on the sideline. There's Pat Bryant. His 3rd catch of the day. While the backflip took place, another look at the Chase Brown run.
Watch Chase Brown, his ability to bounce out. Watch him stick it up in there. Now watch him just kind of bounce out and accelerate and create distance to pick up extra yards, right? And see, that's what Chase Young can do. He has the patience and the ability to bounce.
They go back to him, showcasing the burst up the middle. Saw that earlier as well. The reversal at that back position. I mean, it's a fun skill set to watch.
Sure, we've seen a lot of this counterplay. Both the guard and tackle are going to play. I think Isaiah Adams pulls around here, and he's just has the patience to really run the counter right. You got to wait for big bodies to get. Just can't hit the hole right away. You got to wait, come off the back hip, that inside hip of that tackle.
Pops into the end zone. A lot of that drive on the legs of Chase Brown.
All starts up front, right? We talk about Zy Kreitzer, 72. See Palczewski over there. Reaches his guy, down blocks. Of course, they are playing against 2nd and 3rd teamers. They should be dominating up front. That's why they are the starters. He was doing that Northwestern game, final game of the season. It was Brown going to get to 1,000 yards? And he did, 1,005 yards. Special milestone for him.
Chase Brown joined some elite company when it comes to the running back position in Champaign. Only 2 other backs in program history had multiple 200-yard games in a season. Rashad Mendenhall, and you got Howard Griffith on that list as well.
Well, Howard Griffith, obviously a Big Ten guy. I played with Rashad Mendenhall, former first-round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you can see here against Charlotte, bust out 257. Wisconsin, that game was kind of an anomaly. Just totally dominated Illinois from the jump. Penn State, when they upset at Penn State, you could see he's one of the only Third Illinois play to run for 200-plus yards, as you said, but wasn't as consistent as they needed to be against Wisconsin and Iowa, right? So in Big Ten play, they want to get him consistent. But so much of that is not on him. It's more on, can they throw the football? It's hard to run when you got 10 guys in the box, right? So if they can throw the football, his numbers could be better. He could easily eclipse it. Even when he's sharing plays with McCray, it doesn't matter. He's the kind of back that can do it all.
And hopefully new additions to the passing game make that offense a bit more balanced. They don't perhaps expect him to get as many carries as he did a year ago.
Between him and Sidney Brown, I mean, Sidney, obviously they're twins, played football in Canada. Chase started his career at Western Michigan, transferred down here. Those two might be the best offensive and defensive players that Illinois has.
London, Ontario natives. Samari Cooper back in at QB for the second and third string players. Get a good crowd in attendance. Beautiful weather here in Champaign today around the state of Illinois, about 70 degrees. Orange and blue filing into Memorial Stadium for tonight. What was originally a 7:30 kick Central Time moved up to 6:30.
Even had some tailgaters out.
Oh yeah, it smelled good outside. You were giving me all the restaurant recommendations around Champaign.
Oh yeah.
My first trip. Jay Lehman in the booth with me, Jason Ross Jr., Emily Eamon down at the sidelines. Our awesome crew on hand today here at Memorial Stadium for the Illinois Blue and Orange game.
You know, you look defensively for Illinois. You see big 92 Vertus Brown. He's going to play nose tackle. He's a first-team nose tackle right now. He's a guy that's bounced around between offense, defense, back to offense. Now he's back on defense. He's a guy that's extremely wide, right? 340 pounds. Highly touted recruit, four-star recruit here by Lovie Smith. Can he be an every down run stopper for this Illini ID? You put him, Keith Randolph, and Johnny Newton next to each other, you're going to have some real stout players in the interior of the line. You put linebacker-wise, you've got Calvin Hart, the NC State transfer from last year, only played one game against Nebraska before hurting his knee, and you've also got Tariq Barnes, got a lot of experience. Speaking of Calvin Hart, this is how you make a play, right? In space. Able to get off the blocks with his hands and then make the play on the sweep. This is a guy that got banged up against Nebraska, played really well against Nebraska, probably the defensive player of the game against Nebraska, recovered a fumble. And a guy who played behind a really good player at NC State, then able to come here. They think he's going to be a guy that really contributes this year. 100% healthy now.
Yeah, huge to have him back. And as Jay mentioned, they're only played in that 1 week 0 game. As Sidney Brown in on the coverage there, making a nice play timing-wise. Suffered a torn ACL in the fourth quarter of that Nebraska game, did Calvin Hart, and went through a tough offseason of rehabbing that. He is back. As Jay mentioned there, he earned Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week for that game, then missed the rest of the season.
Sure.
That's a huge reinsertion into your linebacking core.
Well, and you know who else is a special player in the core of that defense? So we talk about the D-line, we talk about the linebackers. We just saw Sidney Brown. Now, Sidney Brown is kind of the X factor on this defense. He can go everywhere. He can play free safety. He can play strong safety. You see him lined up all the way out, almost as a corner right now, man-to-man on the tight end. And you see now he's going to come in and show blitz a little bit here, and he'll go back to man-to-man on his tight end. And that's what Sidney Brown can do. Very versatile. He's big enough to play in the box and be physical. Fast enough to cover anybody in the field. This guy's an NFL player, right? I think him and Chase Brown, great players, great specimens. You look at their defensive improvement, and Sidney Brown led this team in tackles, but you see the difference, right? So 2020 was the Lovie Smith-led defense. Ryan Walters, defensive coordinator, astounding improvement for the Illini, led to a contract extension, also getting paid more as a defensive coordinator, it's well-deserved, but 21.9 points a game from a defense that really struggled to stop anybody over the past couple years.
Yeah, that shade under 35 points per game allowed in 2020 was last in the Big Ten and really took a jump up. It's about middle of the pack in every category you look at around defense in the conference last season, hoping to continue building upon that in 2022. Some talent back. As Saw Emily down on the sideline earlier with Kirby Joseph.
Sure.
They lose him, but that man is still there. Sidney Brown, among others.
Devin Witherspoon, a guy who I think is going to be an all Big Ten corner. One of the more vocal leaders. He's the very, very top of your screen. Quan Martin plays nickel and safety. They're going after Witherspoon here. And there's nothing. You can't even get off the ball when you're facing Devin Witherspoon, right? He just jams you up so much at the line. So physical and big. Has the length of a corner that you want. You see Samari Collier here. He locks in where he's going. He's not even open. He's just throwing the football. And Spoon has the receiver so jammed up, there's just no way to get off. That's Kamari Thompson. I mean, totally throws off the timing, right? One thing you like about Witherspoon is his, he's out of Pensacola, Florida, but 6 foot 180, great length and strength for a corner.
He led the Illini in pass breakups last season, started in 10 games. It's his 3rd straight season as a starter, so that's a lot of experience at the corner spot. Nice cut back here, and a burst up the middle.
That's that Jordan Anderson, 6'4", 240. So we get a peek at Ryan Walters, 2nd season as a D coordinator. Can't be happy with that play. Defense has been stout so far. But Jordan Anderson with the big run out of JCA, Joliet Catholic Academy. You know, Ryan Walters came here out of Missouri, was a coordinator there. Before that was an assistant coach at Memphis, played football at Colorado. Very, very, highly sought after assistant coach. I think this guy will be a head coach very, very soon. You see that the improvement they made as a defense in year 1 under him was a huge part to Brett Bielema's turnaround of this kind of the culture and how they're trying to build this program moving forward, as they have an injured player on the field. It was Josh Geske from Manteno, Illinois, just right up the road, 57. So watch Geske here, 73. We'll see what happens. It looks like, Sidney Brown took him out, but his leg got hit by another guy at the same time. Good to see him walk off under his own power.
Yeah, obviously you never want to see anybody get banged up in the spring game.
So some red zone work for the first team defense right now.
Another one of those situations last year where this was an important spot, given again, you had 6 one-possession games, only came out victorious in one of those, and that 1-4 start consisted of 3 one-possession games. So trying to shore things up, you're backed up in these type of scenarios. Some good reps for the ones to get here.
Yeah, if they can protect the quarterback, that was one of the issues too. Here's Samari Kelly. He should have thrown this ball right now to 44. He's got a step. He waits, decides to say, I'll look for Thompson, and then throw. That's a hard ball to catch. When you're moving, throwing low, behind, not a great ball. 2nd and 10.
This time Collier looking to the corner of the end zone. It's Witherspoon in on the coverage. Mentioned how tough he is to try to be successful against.
Yeah, not a bad ball from Collier, but you see Witherspoon so physical off the line of scrimmage on Thompson and hand fighting both of them right here. Now watch him get his left arm all across the ball and deflect it in the last second. That's perfect technique. It's called the long arm rake. With that left hand, looks back in the last second, deflects it. Great PBU right there by Witherspoon. He's playing with a back to his foot, back to the ball right there. But see, he turns his head around and gets the hand on the ball.
Looking for Kamari Thompson there. This time goes back to the running back Thompson, and he will loop into the end zone. They'll say he came up just short, though.
So they run the classic wheel route where they pick the defensive backs. They're in man coverage in the red zone, and you'll see these receivers. Watch them run slant and see they kind of pick the guys right there. They pick Calvin Hart. He has to go all the way over the top to get to Jordan Anderson. Able to save the touchdown here, right? Because he steps out right there at the 1.5 yard line. But great play design by Barry Lenny Jr., knowing they were going to be in man coverage. Ran the pick route. Jordan Anderson open. Now watch Jordan Anderson probably get the ball up the middle for the tutty.
Go right back to Anderson, and as Jay mentioned, right into the end zone. An easy touchdown for the emerging back among that core.
you don't see a lot of freshmen like Jordan Anderson, 6'4", 240. He's out of Naperville, but played at Joliet Catholic Academy and won a state championship at Joliet Catholic Academy, one of the proud programs here in the state of Illinois. And this is a guy that you think about, a back that fits Brett Bielema's profile. I mean, I go back to way back maybe before your time. P.J. Hill, John Clay, these are guys at Wisconsin that were big backs, right? Monte Ball, you have Corey Clement, you have a bunch of these guys. Melvin Gordon wasn't quite big, but he had the speed. Jordan Anderson has that size, right, that you're looking for. He's 6'4", 240. He's an early enrollee. He should be going to prom next week, kind of like Malachi Hood. You know, Malachi Hood's going to make it after Zach Chrysler road graded him, right? But he might. Jordan Anderson, though, this is a guy they're very high on.
Another one of the backs that we aren't seeing today is Reggie Love. He was kind of the third back in the rotation a year ago, but Jordan Anderson is going to certainly get some reps. The fall does roll around at the back spot, so it'll be interesting to see who is the one behind Brown and McCray.
Well, you know what the great Glenn Mason said, the coach for Minnesota for years and also a Big Ten Network analyst, is that you need a pair and a spare when it comes to running backs, right? All those years he had Lawrence Maroney, and he had Marion Barber, and he also had other backs as well, right? And so having a bunch of backs is not a problem, right? You want that. And they've got 5 guys that they trust. I think they trust Josh McCray, Chase Brown, Reggie Love. I think Aiden Lawford is going to see time. I think Jordan Anderson is going to see time. They got a lot of backs in there.
They go to Hayden on the ground this time. And the blue team inching closer after their score was doubled. So 44-31 now with 90 seconds to go in the opening half of this blue and orange game.
A little 2-minute drill here for Tommy DeVito. Nice cut there by Chase Hayden. You talk about Chase Hayden. Here's a guy. Chase Hayden was initially recruited by Brett Bielema at Arkansas. Okay, then he transfers to East Carolina. Then he transfers to Illinois. I mean, he's been all around and add some more depth to that running back room as if they needed any more, right?
Could be a crowded room moving forward. The sideline this time. Able to find Brian Hightower over there. Haven't really mentioned his name yet. Redshirted last season due to injuries, but in 2020 he was tied for the team lead in touchdowns. So another guy who's kind of reinserted back into the lineup.
Well, he's out of IMG, actually transferred from Miami, and one of the few guys that has length at the receiver position, right? We talk about Devin Witherspoon, who has the length and the strength. You want him long and strong when you're on the edge, right? If he can. And one thing Isaiah Williams, as good as he is, he doesn't have that length, right? He's got a lot of jitterbug to him, as you see the rollout here by DeVito and a wide open Hightower. He's one of the few guys other than Luke Ford, and of course Tip Lyman, who seems to has that size that you want.
Another look for defense staff to deal with when it comes to the stature of your wideouts. Brian Hightower brings that 6'3", 215. Williams, as Jay mentioned, a little bit of a smaller build, 5'10", 180, but effective in his own right. We get a timeout called here. We have Emily down on the field with a bit more.
Running back Chase Brown and quarterback Tommy DeVito know that if they're going to do well this year, that really relies on rebuilding this O-line. Every time they come off from the field onto the bench, they're always sitting down with their O-line, and I just caught an interaction between Alex Billstrom and Alex Palczewski. They're constantly talking to that quarterback and that running back, telling them what's open and keeping in their ear to make sure that they're good.
Thanks, Emily. Neat to hear how that chemistry is taking place in the spring game.
Well, a lot of people thought, okay, they're going to have a great O-line last year. They had a ton of starts coming back. And the O-line was average. Palczewski I never thought was completely healthy. He got hurt in 2020, tried to come back soon. They had some injury issues. You can see right here, Chase Brown says, hey, what's up, fellas? How we doing? Good work. Let me sit right here with you. Hey, Palcho. Zy Chrysler, come here. Has a little chat with him. You see DeVito take a shot downfield here. Miles Scott And I don't know if Miles Scott brought it down and then it got ripped out at the last second, but so watch Scott. I thought he pulls it down initially. I don't think so.
On the turf.
Yeah, bobbled on the turf.
Down.
Yep. Now it looks like he has it, and then it gets ripped. I don't know. See, it gets ripped here. Does the ball sneak out right? See, now the call on the field is incomplete. So I think the ball, it's hard to see if it's moving there because I think the ball got ripped out late.
I think if you were to review that one, it would be tough with the call on the field.
Sure.
To overturn it.
So 6 seconds left here in the second quarter. Miscommunication here. That was just a speed out to get more yards to try to maybe get a field goal in the case like you're working a situation where maybe you don't have any timeouts. I know they have timeouts now, but they're trying to work it like in spring ball. We don't have any timeouts. How can we get 7 more yards to make our 56-yard field goal into a 49-yard field goal, which is much more attainable for a guy like Caleb Griffin, who's got a big leg, not a lot of game experience, because again, James McCourt, the Irishman, was one of the greatest kickers as far as long distance-wise in Illinois history, as far as 50 and above, famous for his Wisconsin kick as well. But Caleb Griffin finally gets his shot junior eligibility-wise.
This is a 57-yarder for Griffin. Didn't quite have the leg on it. Trying to end the half with a long-range field goal attempt. It's the end of the first half here in Champaign.
And you know what? The big question was, what was the offense going to look like, right? And I can tell you, as a guy who's watched Illini football for a lot of years, I like what I see when it comes to the passing attack. I think they just got more options, and I think they're going to be much better.
Emily down on the field with Coach.
Coach, before this game, you told me that you wanted to watch those white team to see how they communicate. How would you rate their communication in that first half?
You know what? They have done a nice job. I thought Tommy's had a nice command in the huddle. He's completed some balls. I think they've understood the situations that we face, had a little bit of everything, some fringe, some red areas, some normal down and distance. So I like the way they're playing.
31 points from your blue side. What does that say about the depth of this team?
Well, points count double, so it's a little middle misnomer, but I like the way that they responded. It's good. It's ones against the world, so you like to see how those twos play against our best competition, and hopefully I think the film will back up what we're seeing.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Coach. Yeah, the communication was something that Bielema really preached going into spring practice. There's a look at Isaiah Williams on the end of a Tommy DeVito touchdown reception. We'll head to break. Halftime in Champaign. Second half just about to get underway. There's a look at Zy Chrysler with the ones. We are officially under the lights now here at Memorial Stadium on a wonderful night alongside Jay Lehman. We've got Emily Eamon down on the sidelines. I'm Jason Ross Jr. Jay, your first half thoughts on what you saw from your alma mater?
Well, I saw some creativity on offense. Usually I'm used to just seeing, stretch plays and zone plays and run the football, but I saw Tommy DeVito running the offense that Barry Lunny Jr. has implemented. We saw some plays downfield. We saw some chunk plays, right? Took a while to get it going, but I think Tommy DeVito is going to be an upgrade at the quarterback position. In fact, let's take a look at some of those chunk plays real quick. We saw Tommy early in the game say, okay, let me get warmed up by throwing Isaiah Williams on the drive route. Then he says, okay, he's in the flat. Let me hit him on the hitch route. Hits him on the hitch. Isaiah Williams gets that yard after the catch. He says, let me take a shot to Isaiah Williams. Back shoulder fade on Peyton Vining for the first touchdown catch of the game. He goes back to Isaiah Williams. Breadbasket, outside shoulder. PI on the defender. Doesn't matter. Touchdown, the Illini. DeVito to Williams. Going to be a connection we're going to see a lot. You see the numbers. 14 for 18, 196, 3 tutties. But that's against the backups. Can he do that against Wyoming? Can he do that in Big Ten play? We will find out.
Well, there's a look at the new offensive coordinator, Barry Lunny, with the new QB, DeVito. Mentioned earlier that Art Sitkowski isn't playing today. Actually saw him roaming around the press box a little bit. He should be in the mix as well, potentially for the starting job. So far, the ones have looked good together. You mentioned the chunk plays, a couple of long connections with Isaiah Williams. Seeing the tight ends get involved as well. Have you liked the quick decisions from Tommy DeVito? I think that's maybe what I've seen a difference from the second, third string QBs.
Yeah, just his ability to read and recognize what's going on and do a little pitch out to Williams. This is what he can do, right?
He cuts it back just inside the 50 and out near midfield.
It's just so explosive. They run this little play. It's a little pop pass, right? You see McCray out leading the way until he gets outrun by Williams, and he cuts it back and makes people miss in space. That's what Isaiah Williams can do.
You mentioned the yards after the catch with him earlier. He's kind of the primary guy among this receiving core that can make that happen.
Sure, and what you'll see for this offense is you see he gets the defense running east and west rather, and then he says, "You're tired. Let me take a shot on you." So he takes a shot on you right there with DeVito with the deep crossing route to Hightower, and so you get him running east and west. Then you get a throw a pass. Now he's probably going to come back with a run to McCray right up the gut, right? So you can see how so much of it is a rhythm as a play caller. Can I get the defense running east and west? Okay, now we're going to throw the football. Now let's run it right at them, right? Different things, rather than just like pound, pound, pound. Like, you know the hammer's coming, okay? So sometimes you can get ready for it. But if you don't know the hammer's coming or the knockout blow, and then you get to McCray, okay, a little bit different.
You're right. They go to McCray, showcasing that big body of his, breaking tackles. He was on the 25 prior to the run. On the connection with Hightower. Here's another look at that run.
Look at this hole right here. This is a big, big hole right there, right? See the cutback sealed off by Griffin Moore right there at the tight end position. Big hole. Even that hole looked big for McCray. And it's hard to have a big hole for McCray. That guy's wide, man.
6'1", 240. They go back to him. Dragging tacklers inside of the 5. Speaking of big backs, we also saw Jordan Anderson featured with the blue team. He's at 6'4", 240, just a freshman.
So he's got more height. McCray out of Enterprise, Alabama. There's the famous story that his high school coach was the same coach as Melvin Gordon's high school coach. Called up Brett Bielema and said, "Hey, I got a guy for you. And it's Josh McCray. You need to offer him." He offers Josh McCray, gets him to come up here, and was a big contributor his first year.
Finds the end zone. McCray busting through. Saw a good chunk of Chase Brown as well in that opening half. They go to McCray on the opening half of the second half, and he finds the end zone.
Yep, he's going with some of the second team offensive line here. Not all of them, but some of them. But a good push there from Palczewski. You can see Pilstrom at center, moved over there. We don't see our favorite guy, Zy Chrysler, in there right now. It's Corey Patterson, the running backs coach. Of course, Corey Patterson, a guy that was the lone holdover from the Lovie Smith staff. Lots of recruiting ties to the St. Louis area.
Head down to the field. Emily has another guest. This time it's Keith Randolph.
Keith, you're not playing in this game due to injury. How are you still contributing on the sideline?
I'm just trying to stay with the D-line, coach them up, whatever I see, let them know what I see out there. Coach up just the defense in general, whatever I see, I just let them know what I see from the sidelines.
What's one thing you've seen this game that you've told someone out on the field?
So we have a younger defensive lineman, Darius McConnell, and I told him that he needed to get more extension on blocks so he can be able to shed them.
Year 2 under this Walters defense, what improvements have you seen year to year?
Just players getting more comfortable. When the new staff got in here, guys, wanted to impress the new staff, wanted to keep their spots, things like that. But now, I feel like we're all just we feel free and just able to play ball now.
You said you feel free. When can we expect to see you out there feeling free?
Really soon, really soon, really soon.
How's the rehab process going for you?
It's going well. It's going really well. I broke my finger during the spring, and I got pins in it and stuff, but it's not gonna hold me down.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Emily. Certainly will be one of the key members of that defensive line moving forward. He was the only defensive tackle in the Big Ten last season, Jay, with an interception to his stat category.
That's a good little factoid right there. Keith's a guy that's a pillar for him. Him and Johnny Newton, those guys that defense. He's 6'5", 300, and only beat out Michigan State to get him here and they're happy they got Keith Randolph here. But he made an interesting point. We see Samara Collier throw a strike to his tight end. He made an interesting point. Ryan Walters said, you know, the first year it's all about guys just doing their job. People are worried about doing their job. I don't want to make a mistake, but when you play really good defense, you know rock solid, stone cold what your job is, and then you start saying, what is the offense trying to do to me? Let's get my brain over in Barry Lunny's mind so I know how they're trying to attack me. What is the formation saying? What's the receiver split saying? What's the lineman split saying? How can I anticipate? How can the down and distance, the situation of the game, tell me what's happening? And that's what the great players do. You get linebackers and safeties that then take that down and say, okay, they're in this personnel, this formation, this down and distance. I'm not worried about my job. I'm anticipating, based on tendencies, what's coming my way. And that's how you play fast. And when you play fast, you have physical defense that creates turnovers and chaos, and that's what's fun to watch. I know offense puts fans in the stands, but defense wins championships still.
You're so right about that.
I'll let you talk now, go.
When we asked him about the points of emphasis, Ryan Walters, he immediately brought up the pre-snap mentality. So I couldn't have worded it any more perfectly than you just did there.
Yeah, I mean, to be an elite defender, you've got to learn how to think. Because offense is all about execution. Defense is about reaction and recognition of things, right? Because I don't know what the play is. So I've got to formulate in my mind. The more variables I can throw out the window and say, okay, that's not a factor, the better chance I have to knowing what's coming, right? And you see what Barry Lunny does as a coordinator. We saw in the last drive. He got him running east and west, and he took a shot. Then he ran straight at the gut, right? They're always trying to mix it up on you on what they're going to do and what they're going to bring. Each of those is a different technique, a different play for a defender to get into his mind. And so the more you know what's coming at you, the better you can react.
Reaction and recognition. I like that little R&R on defense.
A little R&R, not rest and relaxation. We talked about length and strength. It was look at Witherspoon, long and strong, whichever one you call, right? But R&R, recognition, reaction, for sure.
Love it.
I think they're going to give, a little bit of, I've got a little running clock, a little mercy rule here for the blue team. They say, you know what? We want our D to work on some red zone.
Well, we have another situation. So as you can see, our very own Emily Eamon has her own jersey that was made by the wonderful people here at Illinois.
Swag, number 5. The Northwestern volleyball standout. Could she be getting in?
Let's just say she was warming up before the game. Had some warm-ups going down. Getting loose.
Looks like Aaron Eamon's looking at the play here.
Our producer Glenn Hallis informs us of the warm-up footage.
Good technique here. You can see she's hit a few volleyballs in her day, but she had lines back right there. She's ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Eye of the tiger, focused.
Right now, Cooper looks to the end zone, broken up. In on the coverage. That's Ms. Tavion Nicholson.
Yeah, they call him Taz. Taz able to get his head back late. Like we saw Devin Witherspoon, right? Not a bad ball here by Samari Collier. Gives this guy a chance. But really good play by Nicholson. Turns his head late, gets that arm up, bats away.
Cooper under duress, opts to step up. And they'll blow it dead. Beg your pardon, Collier in at QB.
Fourth down stop there for the D. A lot of the first team are still in on defense. With this running clock late in the third quarter here. Again, if the blue scores, it's worth double. And that is not good.
Shade wide. We saw them earlier specifically work on field goals as Emily Eamon is now trotting out onto the field here. We're expecting, is it going to be a 2-point conversion? She's in the midst of the huddle here.
She's owning it, right? She's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
So a transfer from the Big Ten Network has taken the field here.
So what position will Emily play? Big Ten Network transfer. Looks like they got her. She's okay. So she's a quarterback, but they're splitting her out wide. So they're running the play here. Brett Bielema out on the field, calling the defense. Guys, this is showtime for Emily, right? I mean, everybody's waiting to find out what's going on here.
The day has been building up to this exact moment. We know it's a moment that could be shown on future Illinois broadcasts. And it's a big stage for our very own Emily Eamon, who has left us and transferred into the lineup today.
We knew the transfer portal could change teams. We didn't know it could change it like this.
I didn't know it could happen during halftime, but she was warming up.
And she says to the DB, "You're going down." She's lined up at wide receiver. Oh, they handed off to her in the reverse.
A little trickery here. She's looking at the end zone, and it came just short. At intentions there for Ryan Johnson.
It was like the Philly special. We'll call it the Illy special. For Emily Eamon, she had everything going for her. I think she was surprised how far right now. She tells Taz Nicholson, "You're going down. I got this," right? And then they run the Philly special, little reverse action here. They give it to her. There's Ryan Johnson running away and just unable to get enough juice on it. But she's smiling about it.
Well, now on the sideline there, we'll see if she rejoins us or sticks with the offense. We have a kicking competition coming up next year.
She's laughing it off, right? So, I mean, it was put on the spot to throw a ball that far, you know, and so I applaud her for giving her the best shot. She says, "I'm sorry," right? We'll get her back down after the.
So, Emily, your thoughts there. We really loved the idea and the motion of that offense that you came in for. Your thoughts kind of debriefing what just took place there.
Yeah, you know, it was a tough day for me. I thought he was coming in a little shallower. It's like kind of what we had talked about, but hey, that throws on me should have been a little bit better. I prepared well, but didn't execute.
I thought it's a tough play because you're rolling to your right, and you think the quarterback looked like he took off a little bit. He was kind of jogging real slow, then he kind of took off a little bit, and then the throw became like a 12-yard throw to like a 20-yard throw. It's bigger than you think, the throw.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I also thought about it. Maybe I should have just run it in. That would have been a good option. The defense wasn't really on me very well.
Yeah, you could have run it. You could have run or throw, but I give you a lot of props for trying to toss that rock to Ryan Johnson and for having the guts to go do it. I think we did a great job.
You know what's embarrassing about this is I warmed up so much. My passes were good, and that one, the moment just got to me, I think.
Well, she owns it.
Yeah, that's true. Get back in the lab and get back at it.
Will you transfer back to Big Ten Network? Because you transferred to Illinois football now. We got to get you back
during
on the sidelines
hit
for
the
us.
transfer portal.
Okay.
Okay. As you see the special teams work taking place now down on the field. Saw some of this in the first half. As Jay mentioned, kind of hard to replicate anything special teams-wise in a spring game. You typically see them set aside and work on it in this fashion.
It's hard to tell which kicker's on blue, which kicker's on white. All I can tell you is that the white is up 51-40 based on the scoreboard in the stadium. Emily Eamon She points at Taz Nicholson, says, "You're going down." They run the Illy special. She decides, you know what? I'm going to throw the football. Incomplete.
Welcome back to Big Ten Network. Into the fourth quarter now of the Illinois Blue and Orange game. Get a rare flag on the sideline.
Yeah, I haven't seen much laundry.
No, there was that one defensive pass interference.
Got picked up, but relatively clean as far as turnovers, ball security, penalties. I think this one's holding.
Offense number 73. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Second down.
They're changing jersey colors. I'm not sure if this is Josh Geske right here with the hold, who was banged up earlier. It is on Malachi Hood. Malachi Hood and Jared Beatty out of the Chicago area. Not playing tonight, but very, very high hopes for both of them, the outside linebacker position.
That was one of your points of emphasis position-wise entering tonight. Now switched to the second and third string players wearing the white uniforms. It's Chase Hayden on the reception there. Ryan Johnson at quarterback.
You want to see a clean football. You want to see no turnovers. You want to see limited penalties. You want to see limited missed tackles. Keeping the football off the ground, catching passes, an area they struggled with last year. They're catching the ball better. Pretty clean so far.
It's true. Johnson ran into some trouble there. They're going to blow it dead. Call that a sack. Well, don't forget, weekdays, our experts discuss the top stories of the conference and interview the people making the headlines. Big Ten Today, weekdays at noon Eastern on the Big Ten Network. Jay, there was a stat they dug up to kind of talk more on the potential starters. Tommy DeVito found that he had a streak of 212 straight pass attempts without an interception during his time at Syracuse. So ran a relatively clean ship when he was at the controls there. Mentioned it didn't work out at Syracuse towards the latter stages of his time wearing the orange uniform, but now in a different form of orange, and he's loving the scenery. He's seen a lot of smiles from him on the sideline so far today, and a couple of touchdown hookups with Isaiah Williams. Something we could potentially see in the fall when football rolls around here in Champaign. Speaking of the fall, the schedule that this Illinois team will play. Tommy DeVito hopes to be the starter when that time rolls around. Begins with Wyoming, another week 0 matchup. Second straight year we've seen that on the Illini schedule. And a Big Ten matchup sandwiched in between the Virginia game facing Indiana in Bloomington.
Yeah, and then we talked about Virginia, but with the Chattanooga non-conference in the meat of it, Wisconsin,
yeah,
Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, right? Those 4 in a row, there's a bye thrown in there, and you finish up with some cross division games of Michigan State and Michigan. Of course, Purdue and Northwestern there, the battle for the hat. I like to call it the spat for the hat. Land of Lincoln Trophy. That's Ian Pugh. He might be a slight of build, right? But he's a $160 out of Fenwick High School in Oak Park, Illinois. Let me get his hands underneath that football. A guy they were able to get to decommit from Cincinnati, a Luke Fickell's squad, and come be part of this Illini rebuild under Brett Bielema.
Jake Huber in at QB now. Mentioned the Brown brothers earlier. They're down on the sideline with Emily.
I have the Brown brothers here. You both grew up in Ontario, Canada. What were you most competitive with growing up?
Most competitive with growing up? I mean, on a daily basis, it was literally everything. Who could finish a plate first? Who was the fastest? Who could win? Who get the better baskets and baskets? Okay. Almost got smoked. But that's kind of what our relationship's been like our entire life. Always trying to compete and be better.
It's been a relationship growing up. I mean, it's competition with anything we do.
Who won normally?
Me, obviously.
He's going to say.
I mean, obviously it's me.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
That's it.
That was great.
They wanted some more. They wanted some more questions. They just wanted to know who was the best, who wasn't the best.
Chase Brown and Sidney Brown both will make big impacts offensively and defensively this upcoming season for Illinois. Jay, you called the last game that was played on this field in the regular season against Northwestern to close out the 2021 regular season. It's a 47-14 win over the rival from the school they don't like to talk about. What would you like to see carry over from that game to this season? How much, I guess, does a game from last season make an impact in the upcoming
it starts
year?
with the state of Illinois, right? And you got to start with beating a rival. Northwestern is your rival. They've really owned Illinois in that rivalry over the past decade, past 20. It's Pat Fitzgerald, but they've really owned Illinois. That was not the case in this game, and we saw Illinois dominate from the very jump. I know Northwestern is down, and they have ability to bounce back very quick, but I think it's owning the state, right? Recruiting well in the state. A lot of players leave the state to go to other Big Ten West schools, whether it be Iowa, Wisconsin, Evanston, which is not of the state, maybe Purdue. But what you got to do is you got to beat your rival, and it's a Big Ten West divisional game, right? And so you got to beat Big Ten West divisional opponents, and you got to dominate on the line of scrimmage like they did in that game. You look at their recruiting, what they've been able to do. A lot of those guys were in-state, 9th in the Big Ten. 39th in the country. That's a big step up from where they were at. They were in the 70s to 90s, probably the years before. Brett and his staff got after it. He told me he's got a coach assigned to each region of Illinois, right? So it's broken up for their 10 assistant coaches that broke the region, the Illinois up into 10 regions, and they got a coach. They recruit other areas around the country, right? But they have a coach specifically for a certain region in Illinois to make sure they get the players they want here. They did very well in the state of Illinois. We've seen some of them. We've seen Ian Pugh. They beat that. They won that recruiting battle against Cincinnati. We've seen Malachi Hood, JCA guy, Joliet Catholic. We've seen Jordan Anderson, Joliet Catholic guy. You want guys from the Catholic League in Chicago. It's always recruited by every Big Ten team, including Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame also comes in there and recruits. They got Jared Beatty as well, a recruiting battle. So they've won some recruiting battles for guys that other Big Ten teams that had better records than them, they won those battles, and that's building the building blocks for getting this program to be very competitive in the Big Ten West.
That's the goal, and that could have been the case last season if it were maybe something goes a different way in a one-possession game.
Sure.
And they're trying to tidy that up this season. Brett Bielema preached the situational football that they've tried to work on throughout the course of the spring, whether that's 2-minute drill, last play, whatever it may be. They've tried to hit home on that. That'll be a point of emphasis when 2022 does roll around. Down the sideline, that's Brian Hightower, one of the receivers they'll have back in the fall after redshirting last season.
Yeah, Hightower, and you see Collier with a nice little throw. Collier's impressed me with his mobility, his size. He's a redshirt freshman out of DeSoto, Texas. Played good high school football down there in Texas and DeSoto. And he's a guy that doesn't remind me as a freshman body type-wise. He's a little bit slower on his reads right now, just getting used to the offense, but I think this offense fits him very well.
They go to the grounds here. That's Chase Hayden roaming over toward the sideline. Grayson Griffin moving over to make the tackle. So Barstool Carl, who was successful earlier on in this game, has reemerged for a second half appearance here, Jay.
He's ready to roll here. No pads. Oh, yeah. He played quarterback last play. I wonder if he's aged 43. Is that why he has the 43? Oh, wow. Barstool Core 1 for 1 for 35. Emily Eamon 0 for 1. 0 yards. Brutal. He looks like he's taking command out there.
He's up at the line of scrimmage making checks.
The leg kick.
They came at him
Oh,
with a blitz.
wow. They came at him. He got it off.
Wow. Barstool Carl, 2 for 2 on the day.
I mean, they really came after him on that.
They did.
I thought they were going to kind of just let it go, but Barstool Carl, he's hyped.
Little under 2 minutes to play here in Champaign.
All house. I mean, nice little catch.
We need a replay of this.
They bring the all-out blitz. Everybody's coming. And he drops a dime catch for a tutty. Watch the Calvin Avery, all 300 pounds of him.
Yeah.
Watch the chest bump there. He actually did like the double chin strap pull down. Like with some swag, right?
I saw that. And now, again, once again on the sideline, not afraid to do an interview afterwards. He didn't look intimidated by the 300 pounds flying at him either.
Yep. He's a stud.
Again, feels like he could have his own, just set up an ISO shot on him and have it in the corner of our screen the entire time.
Sure.
Another deep shot here into coverage. Kendall Smith over there, one of the DBs we pointed out earlier. Jay, any final thoughts as we start to wrap up here in Champaign from what your takeaways are?
Well, if Tony DeVito plays like he played tonight against the second-team Illinois defense, big caveat there, Illinois has a legitimate chance to not only go to a bowl but be very competitive in the Big Ten West. It's not a conference that, a division that's that difficult to win year in, year out. We see a lot of different teams win it. So I'm excited to see this Illinois play come in August against Wyoming.
Iowa won it last season, Northwestern the year before that. Brett Bielema hopes his Illini could be on track to take a West crown this season, but still a long way to go until that can happen. Right now, about laying the foundation for the fall.
And that's the guy right there, Barry Lunny Jr., the O coordinator they brought from UTSA, who's going to be a big part of it. Zy Chrysler going to be a big part of it. Brett Bielema going to be a huge part as well.
Well, it was a pleasure to bring it to you under the lights here at Memorial Stadium. We had an awesome crew on hand featuring what Illinois football could look like when the fall does roll around. That'll wrap it up from Champaign. Coming up next, it's The Big Show. For Jay Lehman, Emily Eamon, our entire fantastic crew here in Champaign and back in Chicago, we'll send it to the studios for The Big Show after a quick break.